Welcome to Skye Sweaty Record Review Episode 10, the only YouTube channel hosted by a French professor immediately after jumping off of an elliptical in which he reviews a record that has come out within the last week. I listen to it once and then I review it. And one of the themes has been, how do I pick something to talk about? Last time I just picked some random rock band I'd never heard of. And basically what I'm trying to do is just delay the inevitable, which is there's a new Lil Wayne album that came out. I love talking about hip-hop. I think it's really easy to talk about hip-hop and rap and production. But I'm trying to really expand myself a little bit and go out of that into rock and roll, which, as I said last time, is a little bit more difficult. So I thought, I haven't really covered any female rock stars, so I just scanned through all the records that came out this week. And I actually started listening to this one. It was a band called Cloves, which I guess is the pseudonym of this woman, this Australian 19-year-old. And the cover, she's lying down and trying to be sensual. And I listened to it, and it was good. It was solidly produced. But I don't know. It's this sort of soulful singers that they talk about, this kind of like smoky, intimidating voice that feels to me is just way too produced. I feel like it's produced out of personality. And that's very much in vogue right now for female singers, that kind of model. So I kept on looking, trying to find something that I would actually like more, because really I don't review things that don't interest me at all, because I don't want to listen to something bad for like 40 minutes. So what I did was I came across this album cover, and I thought, well, this looks promising. So I saw this, and I said, well, okay, that seems interesting. What is it? And it's the band I'm covering. They're called Lala Lala, which already I like is kind of a silly name. And the name of the record is The Lamb, which, I don't know. I like records, record titles where it's the and then something, as though that's going to describe something about the artist who made it. I think of Iggy Pop, The Idiot, or The Pretender with Jackson Browne, to a much lesser extent, The Stranger with Billy Joel. So I thought that was interesting already, just the kind of superficial stuff that I like. And then I started listening, and I was very rewarded. It is not at all an overproduced album. If anything, it's a little underproduced at times. It actually really sounds a lot like the music I was listening to in college. It sounds a lot like music of the 90s in kind of a good way. I mean, if you take the first track, Destroyer, it's guitar-based, kind of lo-fi, very raw vocals. It's not worried about being catchy. It's a lot of things that, I don't know, I feel like I don't get a chance to hear very often. And then I sort of made a mistake. I read the bio of the artist at this point when I was listening to it. And then it became a little bit annoying because apparently this is their second album and it's just basically one woman's project. I forget her name. And she writes all the songs to her credit. I think she plays guitar and she sings all the songs. So that's good. We know the artist behind it. But then there's this whole forced biography that a friend of hers died and her house got broken into. And that's what this record's about. Oh, and she's sober. I sort of wish I could have known that afterward, because it sort of colored the rest of the listening. I think it doesn't need that kind of biographical support, although it did inform the rest of the listening. In general, I would say that it sounds like a great 90s record. A lot of very simple guitar riffs, noisy guitar riffs, a lot of simple fifths as far as chord progressions go. A personal singer, but you're not always clear what they're singing about, and sometimes the noise gets in the way of the singing. I would say that maybe midway through, I got a little bit bored, just the kind of repetitiveness of it. But then by the end, actually, as I'll discuss, it took an uptick and got better. I'd say a couple tracks to highlight. There's one, what was it called? Well, the first track is great. There's one called Water Over Sex, which is an interesting title. And that has some kind of pre-programmed drums on there. So that's one of two songs where you get the sense that maybe there could be more production going into this, because it almost sounds like it could have been recorded on a 4-track, And then on the last track, See You at Home, it's very similar. It's a very produced song, at least relatively. There's even this kind of saxophone, like an intentionally cheesy saxophone, that's actually really quite nice. And I think that those tracks provide nice balance to the sort of sameness of the guitar-driven rock for the rest, and they also are promising. I think if this band did a little bit more of that, just a little extra production, a little extra interest in their songs, it would work out well. There's two tracks, I think, a song called I Get Cut, and another song called When You Die. And those are kind of linked by having this trope where she repeats the same interesting lyric over and over again. On the first, I get cut with every touch, you come by to soak it up. I think that's what it is. And then when you die, keep my friends safe night and day, keep my friends safe now and always. And in both of these, those are both very strong lines. The idea of getting cut and being soaked up. And I don't know, it feels more clear than some of the record, which gets lost in its kind of 90s angsty general feeling. She has a British accent some of the time, which I guess she was born in England but grew up in LA and records in Chicago. I don't know. I mean, if Mick Jagger can sing with a southern accent, I guess we can let her sing a British accent for one or two songs. And really, I would say When You Die is the strongest song. That's the one which very clearly is about her friend dying, which, I don't know, I don't think it matters that I knew that, because it's a very strong message. You know, keep my friends safe. I mean, I can't think of any song about keeping your friends safe. That's a pretty powerful message, and I think it needs to be said. I really like songs about friendship. So, in the end, it was a great record. I'm looking forward to listening to it again, much like I was with Hippocampus. I think this is some good rock and roll, and I don't think it's trying to be like the 90s, but I think it is, and I think it is in the best way, in the way where music felt like it was opening up, and a kind of disaffected expression had value beyond just sort of anger. So I guess my one pithy thing I would say about this is it's a great 90s album. Or should I call it the 20th anniversary? No, that's too cute. Okay. All right. Well, there it is. Lala Lala's album, The Lamb. Way better than Billy Joel's The Stranger.